But the really corrosive thing is not just that rich people get elected. It's when things like insider trading, for example, congressional insider trading, where at least there's a perception that they're trading off of things they know or access they have that we don't have. That is what I think is the most toxic.
But you use the word perception. Is it accurate? Like take Nancy Pelosi, for example, who seems to have just unbelievable amounts of wealth and shares in the market. I mean, people are always going to suggest that they're doing insider trading, even if they're not, even if what they have is just simply a deeper awareness of the society or the economy because they have to, because they're economists, maybe they make a little better decisions. So where's the actual proof of the corruption?
Let me give you a few examples, and you can tell me, and maybe the listeners can decide for themselves, because I don't want to accuse, make any allegations here.
What do you mean? You have a book called Filthy Rich. You are accusing. I want to know.
Definitely filthy rich. I plead guilty to that. Are they engaged in insider trading? Let me give you some examples. Okay. So in 2020, Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, invests hundreds of thousands of dollars in call options on Tesla. 5 weeks later, Joe Biden signs an executive order mandating that federal, state, and local fleets begin transitioning to zero emissions vehicles by 2027. As you can imagine, Andrew, the price of Tesla stock goes through the roof. Coincidence? Maybe. Fast forward 1 year. The very next year, 2021, Paul Pelosi invests $10 million worth of call options in Microsoft stock. This time, 2 weeks later, the U.S. Army announces that they've just made a deal with Microsoft where Microsoft will produce these reality headsets worth possibly they're augmented reality headsets worth potentially like $10 billion over the next decade. Coincidence? I don't know. I'll tell you this. I talk to people that I know who've worked in the stock market, who know a lot more about it than I do, and they tell me it's insider trading. But either way, here's the point I do want to make. And by the way, I can give you Republican examples too. This is a bipartisan thing.
Why don't just for the sake of fairness, let's name a Republican who has a similar doubt about their integrity.
Well, this one I think is even more disturbing because it has to do with capitalizing on a crisis, not just making money, but capitalizing on a crisis. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, this is early on in 2020, before most Americans realized quite how bad things were going to be, right? Remember, it'll be like a miracle. It'll be gone in 2 weeks to slow the spread and all that. We didn't know. We're like wiping down, my groceries. I have no idea. Senator Richard Burr, who at the time was chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and as you can imagine, as chair of the Intel Committee, he's privy to lots of classified documents, classified briefings, all that jazz. So before the average American knows how bad COVID is, Senator Richard Burr dumps hundreds of thousands of dollars of stock in things like Wyndham Hotels, right? The kinds of investments that might not fare well during a shutdown or a global pandemic. Even worse, he picks up the phone and calls his brother-in-law. Within 1 minute of talking to Senator Richard Burr, his brother-in-law calls his broker and dumps his stock. Now, remember, Richard Burr is not telling the American public how bad it is. He's telling his brother-in-law, apparently. But guess what? Nothing happened to him. He's perfectly fine. He's not in jail. No problem.
I would say the following, because I remember at the time, I thought, shit, this is obviously going to be really bad. I thought that before other people did. I remember having to take a flight where I put a mask on long before the mask was mandated, just because I thought, God damn it, this is real. I don't think that's necessarily. You could just be an intelligent person and to figure out we're heavily involved in hotels. This is a global pandemic. obviously there's going to be disruptions. Let's get rid of our stock. That's intelligent. Again, I don't think you're proving this stuff, man. I mean,
no, I agree. I agree. I agree that it is not dispositive. And let me tell you why I don't mind agreeing with you. In fact, agreeing with you supports my premise.
Okay.
2 reasons. Number one, my goal is not to put Richard Burr or Nancy Pelosi in jail. My goal is to end stock trading in Congress.
Right. Why is that?
And the reason, and I'll just finish with this, the second point, and then I'll shut up. Because earlier you said, like, well, you said something to the effect of, like, well, you said it looks like, or it creates the impression or the perception. That's my concern. It doesn't matter whether these are actually examples of insider trading or not. What matters is it looks like it.